They're the Mario Brothers implements the game. I don't remember the words because it's been a long time.
Good God. All right.
We're already off the rails.
So we haven't really done anything podcast-wise. What, 2 months?
Something like that. The Eagles have won the Super Bowl, and we still haven't recorded.
We have.
I guess we were a little busy, like burning down Philadelphia, right? Although none of us are even there anymore.
No.
Yeah.
No,
So the funny thing is, we haven't recorded, and we have a longtime friend of ours on the show today. His name is Brooks. We'll get into some fun stuff with him, but I do have to put this on top. So we haven't recorded in 2 months. Brooks texts us is like, hey, we got to get on I want to record with you guys. And it's like, oh, we kept pushing off. We're busy. Bob's been busy. I've been busy. It just, life happens, right? I find it hysterical that it was really only because of you, Brooks, that the whole reason why we're even recording. We're getting back in the saddle. Between Bob, I, and Rich, what do we have? Like 250, 260 episodes? Something like that.
Something
A
like
ridiculous amount of stuff. And we just haven't done anything. And that's probably the longest span since 2020. So I appreciate you kicking us in the pants. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while since we recorded. So
I mean, I was chatting with you guys on text, and I was just like, you know what? I need to get on this because there's lots of conversations that like we could have about stuff we're doing, especially at our age. And like now some of us with kids and nephews and nieces and stuff, like we're kind of pushing them in. Like, for example, earlier this year, we got a Super Nintendo in the house, right? So I was like, you know what? I got to get on this bandwagon with the boys.
All right. So I think it's a great way to kick us off. So you got a Super Nintendo. What are you playing these days?
So actually, my wife is probably playing it more than I am with the little guy. So like Diddy Kong or Donkey Kong Country, right, with Diddy Kong and whatnot. They've been playing that. They've been having a good time with that. When we first started playing it, I got an EverDrive actually because I think Bobby recommended it to me. So I got one for the original Nintendo, and we got one of them. And I got one for the Super Nintendo, and I pinged you guys for the ROMs, downloaded them all. And like one of the first things I was like, I want to try Contra 3 Alien Wars again, right? And so I booted that up with the little guy, and he like loved it, right? He was like, this is awesome, and how do you do this, and how do you do that? And so I just left him to his own devices a couple of nights where I'm like, hey, we'll have 30 minutes of screen time. You can go play Contra. He's like, okay, cool. And then I'm in here playing PC games while he's playing that, right? And he comes in, he's like, I beat the turtle, like the big first boss. And I was like, oh, all right. Like, let me see, man. Let me come check it out. And like, he's legitimately better. I think I sent you guys a video of him playing it where I was like, this kid's better than I was at 5 years old. Like, he's stomping Contra 3.
We gotta preface something too. So anytime we talk about ROMs, it's kind of a joke, but not. We own every cartridge of every game ever produced.
yes.
That's right. That's right. Definitely.
Yeah. Yes, we do. It's amazing that all three of us and Rich also happen to just own every single Super Nintendo game ever produced.
Oh, and
Nintendo and Nintendo 64.
Nintendo. Yep.
Even some of your obscure systems, like the Neo Geo, Atari Jaguar.
Right. I mean, I don't even have a TurboGrafx 16 anymore, but I still have every TurboGrafx 16 game ever written to a Hue card.
But
what's awesome is like I played Final Fantasy growing up, right? And I always had that on original Nintendo. And then I played a ROM that I had on my computer, and I was like, there's something not quite the same. And then I fired it up again on the EverDrive and the old hardware with the old controller in your hand and whatnot. And there is something very different about playing it on the original hardware, man. It hit all the right dings in my head when I was playing it.
Yeah, I've got the EverDrive for the 64. And what was crazy about it, I didn't realize it. I don't know. Mine shipped from Ukraine. I had no idea that's where it came from.
Yeah, Crixie
Yeah.
It took a while. Took a while to get, but I was really super lazy too. So I even went on Amazon and just bought a little card that was already full. So that was I was like, you know what? I already have all this stuff, but this is already formatted. It's $20. I'm all about just the ease of things anymore. Plug it in, pop it in, good to go.
Right.
Yeah, I hear that.
They're a pain in the ass to copy.
Well, I think you start to value your time like more than anything else. And you're like, if I can save time just by having something plug and play, than spending 2 hours in front of my computer, like loading a micro SD card or whatever the case may be, then it's like, that's worth the extra $20 or whatever to me.
I'm all about multitasking, saving time. I'm eating dinner right now, so
I'm drinking wine right now, so I guess that's multitasking.
That's
right?
good. I'm glad you are, because usually I'm the one that's drinking during this.
Yeah.
So
I'm drinking water.
I'm having a Coke. I almost went there.
Water wine. It's just it went through grapes first.
All right, so Super Nintendo side, whatever. Let's push forward. What are you actually playing these days? What are you? I know you're a big multiplayer guy. Online worlds, and you've been that way for, Dark Age of Camelot, baby days.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, Dark Age of Camelot. I mean, you and I, like, you were kind of like the first multiplayer person that I like kind of hung out with, right? Because we would play like Diablo, right? Like the original and whatnot, and even like before that, I was actually thinking about this today. I was thinking about the original Doom game, and one of my earliest memories of being at your house was playing Doom on your computer upstairs in the loft and thinking, God, his video card is so much better than mine. Like, this looks so good, right? So
you can thank my parents for that one. They always had.
Yeah. Well, your dad was a super nerd too, so like I get it.
He still is.
Yep. Doesn't go away. It's a life. But yeah, like mentioning the Doom franchise, like I still play that, and like there's a new Doom Dark Ages coming out that I can't wait to do. I like FPS. Like I've always liked FPS, and actually the one I'm playing right now that I'm having a really good time with is Warhammer Dark Tide. So it's like I don't know if you guys know about the Warhammer universe, but like it has expanded beyond the tabletop with the armies and whatnot. Now there's Games Workshop has like an entire video game shop where they make all sorts of different Dark Tide games, or Warhammer games, sorry. And the Dark Tide one is one where I like it because it's quick. I can you get dropped in and it's like a 20 to 30 minute game, and then you pop out, and basically what it is it's a team game. So you can go in with friends, or you can go in with randoms, and they have a matchmaking where you team up, and then you have a 20 to 30 minute mission where you just go in and you gotta kill a big bad guy, demon or something like that, or you've got to I don't know, flick some switches and save some people from the evil heretics that are taking over the town, or there's all sorts of different stuff. But it's an FPS at its core, and it's a team FPS. So it's like it's kind of PV. It's got the same fun of PvP with playing with other human beings, but ultimately you're playing against we call it the AI director. Like there's someone sending hordes of bad guys at you, and monsters and demons and gunners and all sorts of fun stuff. So it's a real good time. You
made a good comment there too, and I don't think that's something we touch upon a lot. I know over the years we've talked about mobile gaming and playing things in short spurts, and because of the time that we do have. But you mentioned they're talking about playing in 20 and 30 minute spells. Look. Where we're at in all of our lives, we don't have that capability of sitting there and slamming down 8, 9, 10 hours, in a row anymore. Yeah. When I moved down here with Nick Stokes, another friend of ours, I remember Daniel and I left one weekend to go to Memphis, to go visit Graceland, do the things that you do in Memphis.
I remember this story.
So, we leave him at the computer, playing Civilization 2. And we return 25 hours later. And he has not moved. And I find out that he's been playing it the entire 25 hours.
Yeah.
So those days are over, right? I mean, so the 20, 30-minute spells, that's about where I'm at too. But, you know, Bob, what are you playing these days, man? I know we haven't really chit-chatted a whole lot about it lately.
Mostly Wii, surprisingly.
Okay.
So I'm playing a little bit of Madden on the Xbox, and then I've been playing a little bit of Destiny on the Xbox, but most of my time I've been playing Fortune Street on the Wii, and been playing some Fire Emblem on the Wii.
I know you're like the Fire Emblem guy, so that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Well, I'm finally digging into it. I've had it on the hard drive. I mean, the disc for years. And yeah, so I definitely don't have a hard drive hooked up to the back of my Wii. But yeah, so I've finally cracked into that, because that game, like if I wanted to get it on disc, it's like $150 to $200, and I'm just not spending that on a Wii game.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too. Look, I mean, you know, we joke about, you know, playing ROMs, whatever, but look, some of this stuff, and we've talked about it with Rich to no end, is how expensive some of these games are. And you know, Bob, you've talked about it many times over the years. All I have to say is Cubivore.
Fuck you. So Brooks, I don't know if you've heard this story, but I'm going to tell it.
No, tell it for me, man. What's up?
So I'd played this game Cubivore. Now this game I have a long history with. I remember seeing it when Tom came up to Jersey to propose to Danielle. I was in the Deptford Mall I think it was an EB Games at the time, the one up by the food court. I don't think it was GameStop yet.
Well, it was Software Etc., I think, at some point too. Right? Yeah.
So I was in there and I saw this game called Cubivore for GameCube. And I really wanted to get it, but then I saw a game called Super Monkey Ball, which I couldn't pass up because it was a monkey in a gerbil ball. So I got that instead, and I left Cubivore to rot on the shelves. Well, years later, one of my friends lets me borrow it, and I played it, and it was awesome. And I'm like, this is great. I really want to own this game. So I went and bought it, and I paid, I think, like $100 for just the disc on eBay.
Oh man.
And then I played it and I loved it. And then at some point or another, something came up and I had to sell it, and I sold it. And I sold it for, I want to say, close to 100, if not more. And then I went back to look to just see if I could grab another copy of it. $400 to $500 for just the disc now.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So are we pitching in for Bobby's birthday?
Dude, I'll start a GoFundMe.
Yeah, that's what we should do. We should do a GoFundMe.
We'll just run it through the podcast and see if we can actually get people to submit money to it.
Yeah, you know how people put the Cash App stuff on the back of the car, like, oh, it's my 21st birthday, buy me a drink. Be like, hey, I'm an old fuck, buy me Cubivore.
Buy me Cubivore.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, you know, so I don't play a whole lot these days. I watch the kids play games. Katie's been big into Fallout 4. I mean, just
that's a good one, dude.
Yeah, she's really immersed herself in it, and so that's been fun watching her play that.
That's got a like a really good creative mode, like building your fort and stuff like that. It's I put a lot of hours into Fallout 4.
Yeah, I have too, and that's actually the reason why I quit playing it, was because I got to a point where I had this nice complex that I built myself and essentially got stuck because I just ran out of resources. So I was like, I'm just done. But I love the game too. So it's been fun watching her pick it up and really, have fun with it. But as far as like anything I play, Tommy and I just started playing Donkey Kong Country Returns HD for the Switch, which is ridiculously fun. And the soundtrack, like at the beginning, is the same as Donkey Kong Country. So, I mean, what's not to love about that? Really, and that's, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, that's just a remaster of a Wii game or Wii U game. So
it came out on the Wii.
Okay.
And then it came back out there was a sequel for the Wii U. And then they've both since been remastered for the Switch.
I know you would know. That's why I didn't even bother Googling. I just ask you.
Oh, and it came out on the 3DS also, for some reason.
I don't know. I tell you what, it's been fun. We played through the first few levels yesterday. I've had fun with it. As far as a guilty pleasure, I downloaded Stern Pinball on my PlayStation 5. So I think a PS4 game, and I play Frankenstein over and over and over again.
Nice.
And so now, the two things I want in life, as far as any video gaming things, I want a real Frankenstein pinball machine. It's about $15,000. I found one on eBay. And I would like a Cruise and Blast machine, just so I can hear that song over and over and over again.
Did you get it for Switch?
Yeah, I've had it for Switch, but I want the machine.
Okay, fair enough.
Switch game's like $30. The machine's like 10 grand.
Well,
Dude,
again,
I'm telling you, the hardware, it's all about the hardware, man. If you got the right hardware, it's worth every penny.
I just want the
throw the Cash App up on the back of your car.
buy me Frankenstein.
Yeah, buy me Frankenstein.
Hey,
Somebody will do it. Somebody will do it.
That'd be awesome. That would be awesome. No, it's I really can't think of anything else that I've been playing because, just work and kids playing stuff, and I just really haven't dove into anything. Yeah, the other.
I got a suggestion for you and Katie if you want. It like kind of parallels the FPS of Fallout, and kind of that open world environment with the creative mode.
Mm-hmm.
So for about 5 years, I've been playing 7 Days to Die, and I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
I've seen it, but I've not played it.
It's like really, it's like zombie apocalypse Minecraft is like the best way to describe it, right? And I don't know if do you guys remember Terraria from like 2010? Okay, all right. So it's like 3D Terraria, right? Where you build a little hut and you have to work your way up, and there's a crafting tree and a research tree, and you get better and better weapons and stuff like that. But like every 7 days, you have the blood moon, right? Which is funny because tonight there's like a blood moon eclipse. I don't know if you guys read that in the news, but it's pretty funny. But every 7 days there's a blood moon, and you basically have to survive an onslaught of zombies attacking you. And so people usually try to build like a fort or a base or something like that to defend against the horde, and coming up with creative solutions for how to do the zombie pathing and how to like protect yourself, and having like an oh shit escape hatch, like that kind of deal is always fun. And it's multiplayer, right? So you can team up with a group, and like I'm in a Discord with a bunch of like, middle-aged people like me, 30s, 40s that are playing games, no like kids. And like we play this, and there'll be like 5 of us get together, and like they all know that I'm like the FPS guy, right? So I'll go in and I'll clear out an entire building of zombies, right? But I don't know how to cook eggs on the grill, right? And so like my friend Jess will be like, hey, I'm going to go down the cooking tree because I know how to do all this. And I'll be like, all right, cool, you do that. I'm going to go out and get some goodies for us and kill some zombies. And it's good because you can do a division of labor. People can go down separate skill trees, and it makes it fun. It makes it a team game that's really fun.
Yeah. So school I'm at, or district I'm at, high school has been a long-standing esports program. In fact, the head coach, who used to be my only IT guy, he's still our coach, but he doesn't work for us anymore. He's the one that informed me about 7 Days to Die years ago. We actually had a server meant for esports that we ran that on so he could play it off site, so he, was testing some things out because he was in beta on it, many years ago.
Yep.
So, but all right, I'm good to pivot because I'm thinking about this as I'm doing things. So my Katie has also gotten real big into vinyl. So I'm going down that road too, which has been fun. So it makes me think though, what are y'all listening to now?
Bobby, you want to go first, man?
Sure. I've been all over the place because my car, apparently they just decided they're never going to shut the satellite radio off. So I've been listening to all kinds of stuff like Stretch Armstrong, been listening to Streetlight Manifesto. I've been listening to Chappelle Roan. Or I think that's how you say her name. I don't know. The one that sings "Hot to Go." I like that song. I don't care.
No,
And then
this is a no judgment zone, Bob. You're good, man.
and then Seether came out with a new album, and the single off of that has been really good too. So
I'll have to
everywhere.
check that out. I haven't listened to Seether in a while.
Track inside there that you can run on.
Yeah, there was I'm trying to think of what it's called, but it was I actually heard it on MMR when I was back home before the Super Bowl, and I was listening to MMR and it was on there.
MMR, man, that's a throwback.
Yeah, let's give that small struggling station a shout out on our huge podcast. See if we can help the little guy a little bit.
Yeah, we'll pump up their listener count by another 10, 20,000. Oh man, yeah. No, it's funny. I mentioned Fallout earlier, and the Fallout stuff I always thought was really good soundtrack. So of course that stuff's in my playlist now. Back again. And that's funny too, because out the other day picking up some records, and Katie grabs an Ink Spots record for like $5. And it's just cool to have, like, because she's big into Talking Heads and Devo and the B-52s, and to have a 15-year-old girl in this day and age that is into that is really cool to me as a parent. It has nothing to do with me, because those were really not my groups. That was all her. I always had a very eclectic taste, as you guys know. And I'm like going through my quick picks right now, and it's it's like I just mentioned, the Fallout, The Wanderer by Dion, a Papa Roach remix by Fury Weekend, a song by Mitch Murder, the Pina Colada song, Ballroom Blitz.
What's the Mitch Murder song? Because they're like synthwave. I like that.
Mitch Murder, the Giles theme.
Okay.
Yeah, that does anything Mitch Murder tends to pop up in my stuff. But the one band I've really, really grown fond of over the last several months is I can't pronounce it because it's like Jay Ferrari, but his name is Josh Farrar. And just look him up, Jfarrari, and he's got some really, really good stuff that it's hard to believe that it's been recorded in the last 2 or 3 years. I don't know what I would consider his style other than like a little poppy, but rock, but it's, a little mellow. Really, really like his stuff. Big fan of his work. But yeah, no, Brooks, I'm big on, the synth stuff. I mean, that's still my bread and butter as far as what I listen to on a daily basis. I've also really gotten big into POD again. I don't know why.
Dude,
Nice.
they're on the Madden soundtrack this year.
What song?
Boom.
Really?
Boom. Listen, the Madden soundtrack for this year is outstanding. DMX, Eminem, Fallout Boy, Andrew WK, POD. I'm trying to remember who else, but like,
you sure you're playing Madden, like not Madden like 06?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Madden 25. It's Shabuzi's on it, which not the Tipsy song, but there's another song that he has that's on there that's actually really good. It's a really good soundtrack this year.
Huh. I'm gonna have to look it up because I never picked up Madden this year. I don't know why. I said I don't know. I'm trying to think. We bought Madden last year, but just never touched it this year.
Yeah, it's better. Excuse me, it's better this year than it was last year, probably because we won the Super Bowl. But it's I don't get the angst playing it this year that I did last year, where I'm like, shit, we should have won this game. I'm gonna get revenge. Like, I may have taken it to the Falcons to the tune of like 107 to like 10, but that was. But aside from that, everything else has been Pretty normal.
All I can say about that game is Kirk Cousins may have beat us, but who has a ring?
That's right.
What about you, Brooks? What do you? I know I kind of know where you're at most of the time, but
Yeah, I'm like Bobby. I think I'm like a mix of both of you guys because I get into some very eclectic stuff, and then I do have some mainstays that I kind of fall back on too. So I like brought up my Spotify and my Pandora, and it's funny you mentioned the Fallout soundtrack because I like love that 50s style like music. I absolutely love that, and it's funny because my wife too, like she likes Ella Fitzgerald and whatnot. So that stuff comes up a lot on my Pandora. I've got actually I made it's funny you're asking me about. I didn't know we were going to talk about music, but like just yesterday I made like an old school R&B Spotify list for myself, and I put like Brian McKnight and like Coolio and like old Usher and all sorts of stuff on there. So I was jamming out to that. If I go to the gym, it tends to be stuff like Mick Gordon, like from the Doom Eternal soundtrack, where he like synthesized a chainsaw instead of a guitar and whatnot. So that's like kind of I've got like a gym jams one. And on there, I've got actually some of the Warhammer music too is really good too. There's a guy named Jesper Kidd is the guy who did it. And apparently he's like super, like he did a bunch of games. He did like one of the Assassin's Creed games. He did Warhammer. He's done a couple of them, but he's like really good. He knows what he's doing, man. He's got some good jams. If I want to like chill out and just if I'm driving and I don't want to drive angry, right? I just want to chill. Like I'll put on like VNV Nation or some synth wave or like I like Wave Shaper too, Tom. That's one of my go-to synth wave artists.
Yeah, I'm big on Wave Shaper, so I like them.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They got a bunch of. My only complaint with Wave Shaper is at some point, like all of their music kind of, and this I'm kind of guilty of this with a lot of the synthwave. It might be just my ears, but some of it tends to blend together where I'm just like, oh, this is just another Wave Shaper song. Like I don't know. It's hard to distinguish some of their riffs. But yeah, on vinyl. So my son like loves the Phantom of the Opera, dude. Like we watched and I know Danielle's a big fan too, because I think me and her, I think we went to see the movie, Tom, like when it came out, like in the early 2000s. And,
I remember that.
Yeah, it was fun. And so he like loves it because I don't know, he just likes the music. And so like I went to an estate sale in my neighborhood, like, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. And downstairs, they just had boxes of records, like musicals. Most of it was musicals, just boxes. And I was like, hey, I'm going to go through these and maybe buy. And I was like, how much is this? And they're like, yeah, like $10 a box, like for a box, like for like a banker's box with like, 30 vinyl in it. I was like, can I mix and match? Yeah, go ahead, do your thing. So like I came out with a hand cart of a bunch of vinyl.
Nice.
And I happened to find like a 1989 Phantom of the Opera thing. So we put that on sometimes on the record player. One of the Warhammer games had a vinyl release. So I was like, I got to buy this because I love this. It's one of the factions in the game is the like warrior priests of Mars. And it sounds like super nerdy, but it's everything you think it is. And basically they're like this cult. The Warhammer fans are probably going to get me on me about this, but there's this cult that worship this machine god, and they have their own music, and it sounds like cants and like gothic like choruses and stuff like that. But it's a mix of like metal and synthwave too. And so I had to buy that album on vinyl, and I've been jamming out to that occasionally too. So.
You just gave me a title for this episode anyway. I'm gonna call
What's that?
I'm gonna call it. If you're a Warhammer fan, you need to listen to this.
I have a buddy of mine in the reserves that got me in. Like I didn't even know. I knew the tabletop existed, but there's an entire universe of lore like that I didn't know. That's very mature. Like it's been going for 50 years, and people just keep adding on to it with things that become canon and things that get removed and et cetera, et cetera. But it's a really cool universe. It's fun. It's a lot of fun, and you can just go down so many rabbit holes. There's like 500 books like actual paperback books, like from all different stories, all different authors, all talking about the same universe. And it's fun. They've got music, they've got games, they've got board games, they've got video games, they've got everything. You know, everybody has their niche that they like too.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that where Blood Bowl came from?
There's a lot of things that came from Warhammer that I didn't even know existed.
I think you're right, Bob.
Like Blood for the Blood God, if you've heard that in games and stuff, that's from Warhammer. That's from like Karn.
Yeah, Blood Bowl is Warhammer.
Yeah, is it? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I play that on the Xbox.
I had to consult the Google there.
I trust it. I trust it. But yeah, it's everywhere, man. It's like things that I didn't even think were Warhammer adjacent. I'm like, oh, and they steal from pop culture too. They'll steal like from, for example, the xenomorphs from the Alien series. They are actually stolen from the Tyranids inside Warhammer. And by the way, Warcraft, the original Warcraft, was stolen from the Warhammer tabletop. And StarCraft is actually Warhammer 40K. You just don't know it. It was just given the moniker StarCraft. So the Terrans come from Terra, which is in the Warhammer franchise. And the xenomorphs in that we all thought were from aliens was actually, they're called the Tyranids in the Warhammer series. And then the Protoss they're something else. I think they invented them for StarCraft. But it all came from the Warhammer franchise, and I had no idea.
I thought you were about to go down like, yeah, you know that character in Grand Theft Auto 5?
It's like everywhere. It's like you know what it's kind of like? It's kind of like you find out the etymology of a word or a phrase, like squared away, right? Like I heard that my whole life. I didn't realize that's a sailor's term, right? Until I joined the Navy, but it's a sailor's term. And you know, you hear these things and then you start to connect the dots where you're like, oh my God, like, well, what's ground truth? Like who had it first, right? And so you kind of try to pull back the layers to see who had the original story. And it turns out most of it's from Warhammer originally.
That's actually kind of interesting. So we won't get into this on this one, but just we'll touch on it. Bob and I and Rich, and we've had a couple of other people on over the years. Danielle's been on about it, talking about universes and stuff. We're fascinated by cryptids. So we love that kind of cultural, you know, we pull from different countries and we talk about it. And we've had some fun episodes talking about like, well, Bob, you remember, you know, the our Icelandic friends.
The Yule Lads.
Yep. So, you know, and it's funny if you really do the research and look to see like, you know, what those names translate to, it's hysterical. But you know, we've gone down the road of talking about some obscure ones. You know, so hearing that it's interesting, you know, like we always try to touch on these different, you know, facets of life and, you know, try to find the creative aspect of it. I think that's what the cool thing about, like, you know, like you're talking about the Warhammer universe is that you have all these different things, you know, and it, you know, it's one person's perspective of how they perceive it and the other. And, you know, I kind of see that sometimes some of the other things we talk about, but, so we've done games, done a little bit of music. I figure we'll, let's wrap it up. We'll do, what are you guys watching anything good lately? You want
to, I've seen Mickey 17 in the theater. And I saw Captain America Brave New World in the theater. And both good movies. I liked Cap better. Mickey 17 was weird. It was, apparently it's a book. My sister was telling me it was a book. And it was supposedly a good book. It's just, have you guys heard of that one?
I've heard of it, but I've not seen it.
Yeah,
so basically,
I haven't heard it, Bobby. Give me the brief.
So you can sign. This dude signs up with his buddy to go into space, and it's a 4-year voyage to go to the planet Niflheim to restart humanity. And if you have a skill, you might be chosen to do that skill because all kinds of people are trying to get off of Earth. But there's also this job called expendable, where, you know, the name is pretty self-explanatory, but what happens is they figured out how to 3D print bodies, basically. So what they do is they back up your brain to a brick, a literal brick, and they make your body, and then you're sent out to do stuff with basically, you're going to die, or there's a high possibility of you dying. So this guy signs up. He and his friend are trying to get away from a loan shark, and they sign up for this mission. And his friend can be a pilot, and all he can do is be an expendable. So they sign up, and then this is the story of his 17th life. That's hence the name Mickey 17.
That's I thought it was like a Mickey Mouse movie at first.
I wish it was 17 Mickey Mouses. Mickey Mice fighting for.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I was thinking the same thing, Tom. But this is a no judgment zone, right?
Hey, I mean, did it like that whole thing with Steamboat Willie and the whole the whole copyright stuff? So I thought, man, maybe this is another one of those deals. Mickey's
they're doing the whole horror universe with that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Speaking of like cryptids and Mickey Mouse, have you guys ever seen the Suicide Mouse videos? Have you guys seen this? Going down that rabbit hole?
No.
Dude, when you get a chance after this, just look up Suicide Mouse. It's like these. So the story, the creepypasta about it, I believe it was a creepypasta original, is that they found like some recording in like a vault in Disney World or something, right? And the person pulled out the old reel and put it on, found an old projector and put it on, and within 10 minutes they were psychotic and they had like gouged their own eyes out or something. It was really and like this is the released version, like you can watch it, but it's a cool creepypasta and fun thing to go down.
I have to watch that with my kid.
Yeah. Don't watch it with the kids.
Why not? Sounds like fun family entertainment. Richard probably watch it and jerk off to it.
Jesus.
Yeah, we're back. Yay!
Hey, he might choke himself while he does it too,
I said no judgment zone, Bobby.
I'm not judging. I'm just stating the facts.
That's why he's not on. Is with Harley Quinn Smith.
He's with Harley Quinn Smith.
Yep.
He's a little tied up, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
What are you watching, Bob? What do you got on your list?
I watched Terminator 2 again last night. Most of it. I fell asleep right before Sarah Connor tries to go off Miles Dyson. No Fate. That's about where I fell asleep.
That's a good one, man. I like that one.
It holds up. And I was wondering, because I hadn't seen it in a few years. It's excellent. It really is. And especially if you really look at it in kind of your perspective of like where AI is at now. It's super interesting to kind of like think about it that way. Nice. Love it. That's sweet.
I got this from Universal Studios in like 1998 or something. I still have it in my desk.
Nice. Sweet. I thought you came back from the future, crushed one, and got his head mounted. No. Other than that, Danielle and I watch a lot of the true crime stuff, particularly on Netflix. They have an excellent series of documentaries, about different things like the Lacey Peterson and the hit was that the girl that I can't think of her name. We just watched it. Went missing. Yeah, we watched that one too. No, this was one a couple had gone. Their young couple had gone road tripping out west, and he basically killed her. She went missing. I can't think of her name.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but I can't think of it either.
Yeah, it was a good documentary on Netflix, but there's just so many good ones on there, and I enjoy that stuff because it's real life, and sometimes real life's obviously stranger than fiction. So,
For sure.
It's interesting. Other than that, now we'll occasionally flip on an episode of The Simpsons with the kids. Trying to always go back through basically seasons 1 through 12. Well, maybe more like 3 through 12. Kind of stay away from the first couple. Kind of.
There you go. Yeah. I got.
Other than that, really not I'm not watching a whole lot of anything. What about you?
Let's see. So obviously we got the kids movies and stuff, but I'm not going to go there.
I like the Suicide Mouse, the stuff.
Yeah, not Suicide Mouse for him.
Okay.
He likes Madagascar, and we just started watching the Harry Potter series with him, which I wasn't like a big Harry Potter fan. My brother liked it. When we were younger. I feel like we were like a little bit past the age where that was formative for us. But yeah, they're good movies. We watched the first one together. I also recently watched it's the movie with Tom Cruise, where he
Top
keeps
Gun?
dying with the aliens.
Oh, Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow. I knew it was something tomorrow. Edge of Tomorrow. And I was like, I didn't appreciate how well this was like filmed and done at the time because it's like 10 years or 12 years old now or something. But that was a pretty good one. I rewatched it and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I felt like I got more out of it watching it now that I'm a little bit I don't know. I had some time to sit down and actually understand it. But yeah, that's it. And I've been doing a lot of podcasts. So like my wife, she watches Andy Huberman, and I like to listen to Andy Huberman, the podcast.
I know who that is. I've actually listened to one.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome. Bobby, do you know who Andy is? Andy Huberman? Have you ever heard of him?
Mm-mm.
So he's a neuroscientist that runs a lab at Stanford, and he's like huge on basically brain science. That's basically what he does. So everything is related to neuroscience with him. He talks about, simple things to make your life better, like wait 90 minutes before drinking caffeine in the morning because your neuroreceptors aren't awake yet and you're saturating them with caffeine, but they can't use it yet. And that's why you get the sleepies at 2 p.m. And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So like, it's just simple, like brain chemistry stuff that we don't know about because we're not neuroscientists, but he puts it out for a big audience. Listen and watch Joe Rogan like all the time because he's always got conspiracy people that are going. They had a cryptid one like recently that I was listening to where they were talking about like Sasquatch, and Joe was like all these same people, these same civilizations from different parts of the planet at the same time saw the same thing, and he goes down the rabbit hole with some of it, but those are always fun because it's like the what if, right? It's always the what if.
He just stealing our content.
Yeah, that's all that is.
We are first to the party. We're also here on Brain Science. Huberman's like down here.
Yeah. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Well, that reminds me.
Sorry, go ahead, bud.
You ought to watch. It's called the Y-Files on YouTube. The dude talks about all kinds of conspiracy stuff, and it's really good. He what's cool is he's not like a quack. Like he's not going on there and be like, oh my God, there's this and there's that, and it's all there, and everything's coming to kill you. He goes through the story, and then at the end, he goes through and debunks whatever can be debunked. And then, like, if it's something he can't debunk, he'll be like, well, look, I couldn't find anything about this that's verifiable that, we can say, yeah, this has been debunked. So it's kind of like Mythbusters, but for like cryptids and conspiracy and stuff.
Or like ghost hunters, right? Like that's what they did too. They brought in the recordings and they're like, hey, we can explain this electromagnetic field due to the wiring that you have, the old wiring you have in your house. But if they get to the point where like this happened and we have no idea why, I guess. So, and that's kind of like the scientific method, right? Because I call it the crucible of truth, right? It's you throw everything out there, right? And then you burn down and debunk everything. And what's left is probably something that you need to look at more seriously, right? With anything. With news, announcements, you could go down that road with anything, but I call it the crucible of truth. When you apply the fire and all of it burns away, except for this part that you can't explain or you can't talk about, then you need to look, that's where you need to look at, make your focus on that, because there's probably something interesting there.
I do want to circle back real quick because one thing we talked about off pod before we started recording, and we got to hit on them is limited run games.
Yeah.
So I realize we're kind of circling all the way back to video games. Kind of missed this, because we're so prepared. But Bob, I know we've really beat these guys up over the years. And I'm just curious. You were talking about some time bombs here, so I really want to hear this.
Yeah, so I'm gonna actually. It's something I never do. I'm actually going to Google this as we're talking about it. So they've announced that some of their cartridges are actually ticking time bombs. And what this means is it's with NES games. Some of them are killing the NESs that you use them on.
So they're zapping hardware, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it has to do with isn't it certain games or no?
So it looks like 20 game or at least Rugrats. So if you bought Rugrats for the NES from Limited Run, it is blowing or basically shorting out your NES. And I'm trying to see if there's anybody else, but or any other games, but it looks like it was just this one. And it's something with the voltage, I believe, is off.
So you guys happen to have an electrical engineer on the podcast.
So it's a 3.3 volt cart and a 5 volt system.
Okay. So they undervoltage something, and what it probably does is it pulls too much from the power supply and probably nukes the power supply.
Yeah. There you go. So, Brooks, we've got Limited Run for this. Started off with Bob and Rich would pre-order stuff, and then sometimes not get it for over 2 years, or sometimes just not get it at all. They have a history of releasing stuff just like this, where their CDs were subpar in some cases.
They were CDRs.
CDRs. Yep, that's what they were doing.
Yeah. They were releasing 3DO games on CDR.
Like, oh yeah, hey, I just have like my buddy in my basement, like we would do 25 years ago, burning stuff. And here you go, play this on your 3DO or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what and it's to me, it's insane to have. To me, what I would basically up till about 5 years ago, actually until we started dogging them on our own podcast, I thought was a reputable company. Always really liked the stuff, and I still do. I still like some of the stuff they release. It looks great, but did you ever get that Worms cart, Bob, for the 64?
I did. And I don't know if they did it on purpose as like a make good or if they just screwed it up, but they actually sent me 2 of them.
That's right. They sent you 2 of them. But how long did that?
Yeah.
That took like, what, a year and a half?
2.5 years.
2.5 years, yes.
Paid for the day that I ordered it, and it took 2.5 years to get.
What do you guys think happened? I mean, I'm just postulating here, but to me that sounds like they took on a new vendor, a new like supply chain, right? And the vendor didn't have the quality that they had maybe before for the cartridges or the controls in place to control the voltages and whatnot. And then they basically, they traded off quality for price at some point, is what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, that's what it seems like with it in this situation, is that it's a vendor. Supposedly it's a vendor that they've worked with before, and the vendor switched things up. And that's, so it was a quality control issue with the vendor themselves. Not necessarily, we can't necessarily sit here and blame Limited Run, but also Limited Run hasn't earned the benefit of the doubt. So I wouldn't doubt that they didn't tell them, hey, reduce the price on these, or cut costs wherever you can, and then that's how they cut costs.
Yeah. So QC is actually really expensive, and especially in manufacturing lines. And so if they're not doing the QA QC properly before they send a lot out, they could be sending out stuff that. And when it comes to electronic equipment, right? You plug in the wrong. I mean, NVIDIA had this problem with their new graphics cards, right? Did you guys hear about this with NVIDIA?
Mm-mm.
Maybe it's getting buried in the news. NVIDIA has overvoltage problems with one of their new graphics cards, and it's actually melting the connector and starting a fire inside your PC.
Oh, get out!
You can look it up on your own. I'm not sure which series it is, because I have an NVIDIA 3090 on my PC, so I was a little worried about it. But apparently it's some of the later cards they have an over voltage problem where they're trying to draw too much from the power supply. And for the gauge of the wires and the connector that you're using, there's just not enough copper there to handle the current. And so it starts a minor fire inside the PC and melts the
Oh,
connector.
wow.
Yeah, they're RTX 5090 seems to be the ones, and right now they're saying, "Oh no, that's not like this is as of about a week ago." Oh no, they're refuting the accusations about that. It's like, yes, they are.
So like you can refute the accusations like all you want, right? But with modern social media, right, and like open media like X and Reddit and whatnot, like people are posting about this all the time, and they're like, "Hey, we got another dead 5090," and they're like, I'm on Reddit. I go in the PC Master Race Reddit and see like because it's people building PCs and hey, what do you got? What was your price point? Trying to figure out the best bang for the buck. And then the 5090 came out, and everybody's like, "Oh, this looks great. It's really expensive." And then like people started posting, "Hey, is this happening to anybody else?" And a bunch of people are like, "This here's a picture of mine. Here's a picture of mine. Here's a picture of mine." And then like different unique metadata pictures, right? It's not like somebody copy and pasting the same picture over and over again.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. But speaking of like, I have one last question for you, but you definitely have to come back on. We'll have to dive into some deeper stuff at some point. As we do go with deep dives into things that we did early on with AI. Before it really went where it's at now.
Ooh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, Bob. This is one of our first episodes where we got all of our Johnny Bench jokes. We had invited one of Bobby's friends over to talk about crypto, and that was a fun episode. And that was early in the game for us. We were doing some fun stuff. What are your thoughts about Tommy Tallarico?
Oh, Jesus Christ.